What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Coros Apex Pro and the Polar Grit X. Let's see how they compare. Right off the bat, Polar and Coros did send both of these watches to me. I did not buy them, but I've already done my full reviews, which you can take a look at top right corner of both of these watches. So I'm going to give you my honest opinion on which, the comparison between the two, and maybe if I think one is better. But again, it's just my opinion. So let's take a look. In all of my watch reviews, I always start off with kind of how the watch looks. What, do I think it's a good looking watch and comfort? So right off the bat, I think they're both pretty good looking watches. This colorway versus this is the all black model, where this is the titanium bezel with the green band. So there's some obvious differences. This is more maybe discreet looking, being all black, where this is more flashy. But they're both really cool looking watches, I think, so kind of a tie in that respect. And then talking about comfort with the watches, obviously the first thing we have is the band. I prefer the Coros band on this here. If you take a look at my review video I did of the Grit X, it's one of the negatives I said was the band. But the Coros is nice and stretchy, silicone, really comfortable. The Polar Grit X band is also a silicone, but on the other side, the exposed side, it has a I don't know, it has a roughness to it, and it's pretty stiff. It doesn't really stretch a whole lot, and it just, I don't know, to me personally, I didn't think it was that comfortable to wear. So on that one, I got to give the win to our buddy, the Coros Apex Pro. Both watches are pretty similar in their build. We've got stainless steel, it's a forged stainless steel bezel on the Polar Grit X, and a titanium bezel on the Coros Apex Pro. So, they're both going to be really durable in that respect. Both of the cases, the overall, main part of the watch, the housing, is a glass fiber polymer. So it's, a very high durable plastic. Both going to last a really long time. The biggest difference though is when we get to the glass. So the Polar Grit X is a Gorilla Glass. It's a very good glass, but I would still probably want to put a screen protector on that one just to make sure it doesn't get dinged on a tree and get scratched. The Coros Apex Pro, however, is sapphire glass. Sapphire glass is probably one of the hardest types of glasses out there, and I really have had no need to put a screen protector on this thing because it's just that durable. And I've hit it on rocks, I've hit it on trees, all sorts of things, and it's the glass is spotless. So for durability, glass, I got to give another one to the Coros Apex Pro there. Come on, Polar, get with it. Hey, and while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, give the video a thumbs up. It really does help the video out a lot, and my channel. As far as the weight of the watches go, they're both on the heavier side. The Coros Apex comes in at 58 grams with this band right here, and the Polar Grit X comes in at 66 grams. So a little bit heavier, but honestly, they're both in that category that I would say you're gonna feel it on your wrist. So, even though this one is lighter, it's basically a tie in my mind because they're both pretty heavy watches. So now let's talk about some of the components of the watch, like, the widgets and things like that. They both have plenty of widgets on them. You can look at your daily training activities. You can look at your kind of a weekly summary of what you've done. They both have a recovery advisor type thing. They call it different things, but the Polar you can view, on the watch and in the app. Same for the Coros. The one thing that I can think of that the Polar Grit X does have that the Coros does not is weather on the watch itself. So you can scroll through, see the weather, kind of get a 3-day forecast, and also look at the hourly, which is pretty cool. The Coros does have storm alerts, so if you're paired with your phone, you're out on a run and it senses the conditions are right for a storm, it will kind of beep at you and let you know that there's a storm in the area. So that's a plus there, but you cannot actually see the weather on the watch. So that's one for the Polar right there. Another cool widget that the Polar has is their fuel wise. You can actually put in the watch for before an activity, your duration, how many carbohydrates your electrolyte drink is, maybe if you're taking a drink. And then you can put, like for me, I'd say tailwind. It has, 25 carbohydrates or whatever it is. And then it can tell me based off that duration and my intensity level, I need to take in this many carbohydrates per half hour, 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it is. And then it can remind me to do that, which is pretty cool. Coros doesn't have anything like that. You can put like a drink reminder on, but that's really about it that you can do on the Coros. So for fueling and hydration, that's another one that we can give to the Polar Grit X. Both watches do sleep tracking, and they're both, fairly good, but I gotta say the Polar takes the edge for sure. Polar, in my opinion, is the best sleep tracking smart GPS watch out there. It's just really good data. You can really dive in deep on the app and the website, which is a huge plus. So another win for the Polar. Speaking of that, interface that we have. So for Coros, you have an app on your smartphone. You can view all your data, do your GPS routes, importing, all of that on the app, and it's very easy to use. Polar has an app and a website. So with the Polar app, it's very data intensive. There's a lot of data you can look at, which is good if you want to see those kinds of things, but it's also not the easiest to use. So for the app, ease of use, it's going to go to Coros. But for ability to view lots of different things, having that website, the Polar Flow website, is a big plus, because then you can get on your computer, you can check out stuff, you can export files really simply. It's just really nice to have that additional feature. So having that is a big plus for the Polar as well. Both watches do feature different types of navigation. They both have breadcrumb trail navigation, but it's a little bit different. So with the Coros, you can put in a GPX route, load it into the watch, open it up, start your activity. You can follow it along. Really simple, and it's great. I've had no issues with it. It beeps to let you know you're off course as well. With the Polar Grid X, you also can do the same thing. You can use their Komoot app, create a GPX route, put it into the app, then put it in the phone. It's a little cumbersome to do so, and it's kind of, it takes a little while. But once you do so, one plus that this has, that this does not, is turn-by-turn navigation. Now, it's not maps. You know, you're not going to have topographic maps. You're not going to have that. But as you approach a turn, it'll beep and say turn in 30 yards. And it was pretty darn accurate, I found in testing. So for the navigation, I got to give that to the Polar, just because of that turn-by-turn navigation was really cool, and it works really well. As far as customization goes for, you know, your different activities or just the watch itself, that's got to go to the Coros. Mainly because you can have 6 data fields on an activity. Like you say you go for a run, you can put, you know, your pace, the time of day, the time of the activity, your distance, your elevation gain, heart rate, cadence, a lot of different things. 6 fields on one screen, and then you can scroll through to many different screens. On the Polar, you can only do 4 different data fields, which is not that many. It's kind of old school. But you can also then scroll through to other fields and see different things. So you have those items you can look at, but not all on one screen, which is kind of nice about the Coros. And another thing you cannot customize really on the Polar Grid X is the watch face itself. You pretty much have 2 options, digital or analog, and that's it. The Coros though, there's like tons of different watch faces you can choose from. I mean, there's probably hundreds by now. It's a lot. So you can definitely find something you like on the Coros. And for battery life, I know everybody wants to know the battery life differences, but honestly, they're both about the same. You know, you get 40 hours on the Polar Grid X, you get 40 hours on the Coros Apex Pro. For the Polar Grid X, you can change some things and get up to about 100 hours in a reduced accuracy mode, if you will. And the Coros Apex Pro also has an extended battery life mode called Ultra Max, where you can get up to 100 hours in a reduced accuracy as well, just like this. But in testing, I did use the Ultra Max on an Apex, which is similar to the Apex Pro, and I still found the GPS accuracy pretty darn good. And here now we can look at the GPS accuracy. We've got the Polar Grid X in orange and the Apex Pro in blue. We can definitely see a little more GPS drift from the Polar Grid X as it's kind of out to the side on both sides, where the Apex Pro is almost right on top of itself, which is pretty cool. You know, and this is on a road. This is, you know, not any crazy tree cover. We've got quite a bit of drift going on right here from the Polar. Fairly accurate, both of them, but I would say I would also give the accuracy to the Coros Apex Pro for the GPS. I think it looks a little bit better. Now let's talk about some heart rate accuracy. This is the Coros Apex Pro in purple and the Polar Grid X in red. Right off the bat, Polar jumps up, then they stay consistently together pretty well. A little spike, but here we've got quite a few spikes by the Polar Grid X. We can see, I mean, it jumps up to 167, where the Coros is down in the 130, 138, 140s. Another big spike here, 166, 167, 140 from the Coros. And this was just a very easy run, nothing crazy at all. Like, I definitely would not have been up into the 170s. That's just ridiculous. So in this respect, I would say the Coros looks like it's a little bit more accurate. All right, now for a really just like nitpicky thing that I don't like about both watches. The Polar Grid X, you can't turn off. Just, nope, can't do it. Don't know why. Have to wait for the battery to die. Bugs the crap out of me. The Coros Apex Pro, when you get a notification and it comes through to your watch and you clear it, it doesn't clear it from your phone, which drives me crazy. It does on this, but not on this. 2 crazy things there. And now the biggest difference in the 2 watches is the price. They're similar, but this one's a bit more. This one, the Coros Apex Pro, comes in at $499. Like I said, you do get that sapphire glass, some other really nice features on this watch, like an SpO2 sensor, blood oxygen monitoring, that kind of stuff. And the Polar Grit X comes in at $429, so a little bit less features. Both are touchscreen watches. Both are pretty sensitive displays. This one's full-time touch. This one is really, as far as I've seen so far, only in the activity. Like I can't just, it doesn't do anything. Where this one, I can swipe if it works, and it swipes through. So both touchscreen watches, both pretty good. So definitely a little price difference there. Think about that when you're deciding which watch is best for you. But if it was up to me, I like the heart rate accuracy. I like the GPS accuracy. I like the platform better on the Coros personally. I just really like that app. It's so easy to use. It's just a good watch. It does what it does well. The Polar Grit X is also a really good watch. It's just mainly the app for me. I just don't like the Polar platform. It doesn't work well with me, or I don't work well with it. And the synchronization times on Polar are just so slow, just like crazy slow. So that would be a big drawback for me. So anyway, let me know below. What do you think? Both of these watches have been out for a while. Which one do you have? Have you tried them both? What do you think? Let me know below in the comments. I'm curious to see what you guys think. Well, that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. If you want to take a look at the full review I did of the Coros Apex Pro, it's going to be right over here on this side of your screen. You can take a look at that. And then over on this side will be a playlist of gear reviews where you can go find the review of the Grit X and other watches. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.